Just imagine a world where you create it. Just imagine a world where you are the founder, the CEO, architect. Just one thing to get good at the game that has been created, but imagine just creating something completely different. What would it be like, you know? I want to think big for the time that I'm waiting here for my food. Just think big, think something different that I've never thought of. Without thinking about possibilities. So, start off with health. It'd be a universe where we develop habits of appreciating foods that aren't good initially now, but they will be good. Meaning, from the get, all the foods that are able to be in production have to be for legit healthy. Not none of that 100% this because it sells. No, like just legit marketing and legit. I mean, it doesn't even have to be marketed to the point where a place where I'm gonna say a world where or a universe where the foods that we eat are genuinely healthy, not because it says it on a label, but just because it really is. Nothing can get passed through, be sold without it being healthy. A world where mistakes are embraced. A world where you're compensated for mistakes. A world where that still is geared towards the stuff that I see now. It's just opposite. I think something that just hasn't been, something that isn't. Flying cars, I mean, that's already thought of. That it's not happening, but it's already thought of. Okay. Something that hasn't been done is everybody that. So you're compensated based on the amount of recordings that you have. So every time that you decide to communicate, express yourself, give a part of yourself to the universe, you get paid, you get compensated for it. And the return on that is from a business point of view, it doesn't make sense. It's not a profitable business model, but it doesn't require expenses as well. With the proper technology and the right infrastructure, it doesn't require maintenance, or at least I don't think, because I never built a technology company. I'm sure something has to be taken care of. But what I'm getting at is the purpose of of documenting yourself is living on the principle of, if you want to see a better world, fix yourself. So the ultimate way for us to fix ourselves is gonna come from us eliminating all the bullshit that is within us, or even correct things, but those correct things may not magnify who we truly are. It may be a benefit to somebody else's future. So the only way to get everyone, in my mind, the only way to get everybody in the world to actually improve, and there's so many personal development coaches and so many gurus and so many self-help books that are out there, and it's like, if you think about it, if it's really self-help, now I get it, not everybody understands this, but I'm just gonna speak on solution. How can we fix it? So let's say there's a self-help book that genuinely is gonna help the human race move forward. Well, there's a few basics that we have gotten to understand, or at least maybe not everybody's aware of it, or nobody chooses to focus on it, but I look at it like this. Like, if you write a book and says, in a statement it says, you are powerful, you are great, you're infinite. And in the book, this is exactly what you're reading. It says, you are magnificent, you are capable of building anything you want, you're intelligent, you're healthy, you're financially intelligent. All this is being read from a different point of view. I don't know the right term, if it's first, second, third, or what, but it's not first person. So if a person really wants to help the world, the self-help books, they wouldn't be so hung up on credit, and they also would think in terms of the proper the way they formulate the wording. So instead of putting you are capable, just put I am capable. Now I know it may sound a little weird at first as the writer, when you're only, if your target audience is somebody else, right? So if your target audience is the people that are buying your book, by you saying you keep writing you in the book, when the person reads it, they're saying you, but they're not accepting it as themselves. I know the intent sometimes could be like that. For example, when somebody's writing a self-development or a personal growth book or whatever, they want to educate somebody on there, and it's a habit. Believe me, I do it as well. But when we do that, we are not really allowing the person that's reading it to grasp it and internalize it like they should. So if we want to get mass results from a personal development perspective, is changing the context, I think, or I don't know, like the way we word it, the way we word it. So instead of putting all these yous when we were addressing a point to somebody, just put I am capable, I have discovered this. If it's a realization that you want people to understand, or something that you learn, even though I know you trying to communicate to somebody else, you got to think about it from the consumer's point of view, and that being changing the wording so that when they receive the information in their mind, they're looking at it like I. So many times these messages are being put in their mind as they read it, I. By the time you know it, I'm the author of this book, you know. Now I know this can get very, we can get very, very detailed in terms of. Thank you, bro.
Here, I can take these out of the way for you.
And if you'd be so kind as to bring me another one.
Yeah, another loaf of bread?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That'd be dope.
Yeah, be right back.
But, yeah, I could have got more bread. I just always thought about that when I read a book that's powerful. It's like I know they're talking about me, and I started to write a little bit and started to change it. But now we have technology to where if you already have success, you have the finances, you're not really trying to capitalize on the book sales no more. You could change the whole format of the book and everything that's positive in that book, change it to like first person. So when the person reads it, it's like the new edition. One is going to increase your sales, and two is actually going to make a difference from a personal perspective. When the person reads it, they're going to be like, they really going to they're going to accept the message differently. I think that Outback steak is better. This time I got a ribeye. So from when I was talking about recording, pay somebody for recording, because I know it's gonna be tough to make money out of it if you're paying somebody to record. This has to be somebody that has the funds to do it, and the payment. It would have to make sense. I have to think in terms of how would that return come back. But from a helping people point of view, is when they when they focus on themselves instead of somebody else. For example, they're constantly focused on recording and getting what's inside of them out. I believe there's so much information that we're missing out on. And we can incentivize the world for every minute that they talk, for every 30 minutes, like they get compensated. Or like maybe for every minute you're gonna make 2 cents, 3 cents. I could read to the camera. They could read to the camera. They could fucking they could do whatever, but compensate that behavior, because ultimately what's gonna happen is that person's gonna improve. Initially it's going to be a disaster, because a lot of what is inside the minds of humans right now is preconditioning. It's a matter of what we've seen, what we've been taught. Here's the benefits. A lot of stuff that goes in our mind by default is going to come out, whether it's just through words or behaviors. I believe the fact that somebody will be compensated to actually see what's happening inside their mind versus trying to express it on the street can minimize crime. And at some point it's gonna get to a point where people are gonna hold themselves accountable. They're gonna want to create better content. They're gonna want to develop. They're gonna realize things about themselves that you would never be able to realize ever unless you actually document it yourself. There's gonna be beautiful ideas that are manifested, actionable businesses that can be built, that maybe those people should get part equity, get royalty from that business idea. Maybe get coaching if they want to be a part of it. Get the opportunity to shadow somebody that's able to build it, have the resources. It's just so much that could be done. And I think it would start with compensating people to document. And when I said that, YouTube comes to mind. It's like, yeah, no, that's what YouTube does. But that's not really the selling pitch. It's like you got to actually create content that captures attention. I'm talking about paying people for simply creating. That's it. You gotta bring X amount of traffic to your video. Thank you, bro.
Coming out great so far for you?
Nah, actually, this was all right, but it is what it is.
Gotcha. The ribeye good though?
Huh?
The ribeye's good and everything at least?
Yeah, the ribeye was good.
Good.
But I kind of lied. It's good. It's not as good as the other one. But I wanted to try it. But I thought about this too. I thought about this when I was locked up in jail. I thought about creating a funnel. How the fuck not compensate people for documenting? My initial thought was reading, like if they read to the camera. But it just depends where they're at mentally too. Like there's some people that don't necessarily need to change their mentality or read anything. They have so much within them. And maybe paying like a penny every. I think I used to get paid like, I forgot what I calculated to, but it was cent. Like I calculated to the cent. It's not a lot. I forgot what it was, but I'll try to figure out like how much I make by the penny an hour or a minute. I don't know what I did, but it wasn't a lot. So paying somebody over like if they put 8 hours in, they could make a good amount of money. Paying them Cash App, whatever, PayPal. There you go. And when it comes to them creating enough information and like creating enough content. Oh, and part of it too, they have to listen to it. They get compensated for listening to it. And they get to choose. Damn, I'm getting fucked up. They get to choose if they want to work with a content creator, provider, like a content editor, and they could decide after they watch what they want to do. If they want to continue being paid for where they're at, if there is something that they want to focus on and put in those resources in front of them and have them document that process of them learning through that. Man, I'm getting fucked up. And letting them know, like, hey, you have the ability to. Just having a team together and doing something big with them, helping them, guiding them to implement the stuff that they're thinking, to make it tangible. And I'm 100% convinced that with time I'm not saying it's the only way to make it. But if the human is given time, innovation happens. Now, we do have to reconsider what they've been conditioned with initially. That's why documenting them and recording, seeing what's inside their mind matters, because not that everything that they think is they're going to act on, but it's important to know where they come from. What are their intents?
Alright, do we need any boxes or we're okay?
Good, bro.
Alright, you're all set right here for you.
Here, don't leave. So I can give you this.
Thank you. I'll be right back for you.
Alright, bro. Hey, give my bread.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's like I gotta organize what I was thinking and deliver it different, but I just try to freestyle it. And I haven't thought about it as much as I did when I was in jail. And I try to make sense of really how the money's gonna be made. But I'm really thinking about the money is gonna be there somehow. I gotta think about how I'm gonna monetize it. But the more value is gonna come, the real value is gonna come from people. Empowering people and putting people in a position of strength and control. And control meaning being able to critically think, being able to make decisions, plan ahead. These are things that are going to make a human better. We know that.
You're all set.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you so much for coming. Have a great day.
Yeah, it's like, you imagine the amount of people that have ideas that are probably applicable and can help, but don't know how to communicate. Or if they do know how to communicate, they don't know how to present it. Or put it in a language where anybody that can make it happen won't even fucking listen to them. I think about stuff like that. And I think about, what could I do about it? And I realized that having a business idea, that's not even a business idea. That's just like something I think could change the world and help the world. Everybody. To be honest, you don't have to be compensated to do that. But I feel like that's a faster way to get people to do it, because I really believe in the difference that it can make in individuals. It's like what goes in must come out. I believe that what goes in must come out. What goes in must come out. First of all, you have to understand that what went in was wrong, man. As in, there's a lot of stuff that was put into our mind to make us a specific way. You can accept that as a reality or not, but this is the truth. I was listening to a talk today, and what it's called is the industrial age. I ain't really connected as much as I am connecting it as I speak about it, but it's like you could look at it as, like, I complain about the educational system. I'm like, what the fuck? It's not a bad thing. It's just preparing somebody for what was popping at the time. You know what I mean? So it's like, meaning that warehouses and factory working, just pretty much listening to, I don't really know, but listening, just being told what to do and following, and not really, not thinking for yourself. Like, it was a problem. If you thought for yourself, you're pretty much taken away from somebody else's ultimate plan. Like, if you were actually on some conscious shit, or if you were wanting to develop something else, it would essentially take away from what the ultimate goal was. Well, so they prepared us for a specific way. I don't know the real reason behind it all. I don't know why the heck somebody would, you know, want to make a human weaker. You know, like, all right, I listened to this kid, an interview. I think his name was Colin Worthingham or something. And I seen the interview, and I wasn't paying too much attention to his replies. I was just paying attention to how the news lady was talking to him. And I hate to say it, because it's not just this. It's not every woman, but I think that, I don't know. Like, I really go into thinking, why was religion created? I really think about who it benefits the most. I look at what's happening from a control perspective, like, and I also think about the complaints. Like, there's this spirit of, this attitude of, like, fuck men. You know, they're abusive. They're too controlling. They're dogs. Like, I just feel like the fight is real to make us not what we're just naturally meant to be. From a young age, I remember having girls always telling me, you're a dog, you're an asshole, you're a jerk. And I didn't even know what those words meant, you know what I'm saying? Let alone be it. I was just living my fucking life and being normal. And like, I really think about, now I'm really putting more thought into it based on the education, and what I'm learning is, and even being practical, like, how we've accepted a lot of beliefs to be real, even if we don't believe them. We just accept it because it's the norm. It's like, why the fuck? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Why are we gonna accept something when inherently we know it's not? We just carry it on. We just continue letting it happen without putting. It's like, dudes are very fuck it. Like, you know what I mean? We have this mentality. It's like, fuck it. You know? Yeah, it's not right, but fuck it. And we carry that on in other areas as well. Like, for example, if our kids do something that's not that serious, it's usually the mom that's bitching. The guys are like, fuck it. You know? We've allowed, and not everybody, but we've allowed the fears of women to be the things we care about. Whether they're right or wrong, we've magnified those things. We're protecting women, and that's cool. But we need to protect each other. Like, it's not just protecting women, it's protecting all of us. when we start creating this environment where it's like, have you ever like you ever had hell of you ever been in a situation where you give something and then you realize, like, once you give something, they ask you again, or they feel more comfortable to just ask you again, and or if you let something slide once, then you especially with kids, like, you just slip up or you let them do something and then they just kind of watch you and they're like, okay, and they see how far they can go and they do it again and they just feel you out. It's gotten to the point where a lot of the actions we take, a lot of the behaviors, a lot of the stuff that we accept from a lot of stuff that we accept, a lot of behaviors that we know aren't right. I feel like they just continue to grow because my point is, I feel like we've been too nice. Like, we've been way too fucking nice, and to the point where just like I said, with kids, they know how far they could take it with us. Well, they know women have a pretty good understanding. Women have a pretty good understanding of how far they could take it with men. They've tested them. Some have gone to the limits to see if they would get hit. And others, like, just go as far as to see what type of reaction they get. It's like we're getting tested. And after we keep, like, the more tests that we fail, the more shit that we keep allowing to just happen and get past us, it's like the more advantage that they're gonna take. Meaning, it's kind of like, I know I didn't communicate it right, but it's kind of like the example I was saying with kids. It's like, you let them do something and then they just start thinking like they OD. The best analogy I could say is like when you give somebody a finger and they take the whole arm, like that. Like, you help somebody with the hand and they want the whole body, like that. But I feel like that's happening from a human relation perspective. Like, we really do everything in the fucking world to favor women. And it's not that we shouldn't. Like, we should do something for everybody. We should make a world where everybody is benefiting from it, not just centric towards one gender. And here's the fuckery. It's like, that doesn't mean, first of all, that everybody's the same. I'm just saying we could do whatever we want. In fact, it's happening. But it's gotten to the point where I think it's obvious that there's a lot of manipulation. And the worst part is like when that manipulation is being magnified by the very same people that it's targeting. So when you have your allies turn against themselves, when you could somehow make your, like, allies, if you could make two brothers go against each other, you're a powerful person. And I'm just gonna cut it straight. I'm gonna shoot it straight. Women understand that from a strength perspective. If we were to all get in a war, men versus women, physical altercation, the men will slaughter, and they know that. But what women have is the gift of understanding the mind. They have intuition. And we men do as well. But from what I'm learning in the past, they've had more time to actually learn themselves and develop themselves at home and tap into shit that niggas just never really cared about tapping into. So within this time, and also raising kids, so by you being around a kid, you're gonna understand a human versus like you understand life differently from another point of view when you raise a kid. So by those, there's I don't know who, but there's women that understand things about men differently than a man does, because first of all, when you raise somebody from a young age, there's not a lot of stuff that changes from a behavioral, like psychological. There's just facts about humans that you're gonna figure out, and you're gonna catch on to these patterns as you see kids grow up. And any parent could attest to that. It's like you really learn a lot about yourself, about human nature, about a lot as you raise a kid. So with that being said, it's a lot of abuse that starts at that age, at a young age, where they seen what was capable, the control they had over somebody. They were bigger from them. They were bigger. And also a lot of women took ground at a young age. They really took control from a psychological perspective on how to control man, because of what they saw from a grown man perspective. They weren't okay with the end result of what a grown man did or is capable of doing. And if they could adjust it, they're like, how could we adjust it? Well, let's adjust it from the beginning. Let's start rebuilding and see if we could adjust how they move, how they react. And this is just evolutions of women raising kids and learning. But we gotta do better. Like, it's up to me to get better. It's up to me to put myself in a position of being thoughtful. But I say all of that, it brings me back to, why is it that I don't know who created the first school, and I don't know what the initial intent was, but I know there's things such as unintended consequences. I don't know, who initially was in control, and I don't know what the purpose of it was. But I also know that it's so weird, because there is good teachers out there. There's good teachers and there's bad teachers. There's not many real teachers. And, when we are working and doing something that's so important, but we doing it for a dollar bill, it takes away from the purity of. When we have to follow a specific criteria, it takes away from how effective it could really be. Again, there's nobody to blame, man. I know I'm against, I always talk smack about women, and there's men too. Like, there's men that, I'm a deadbeat father. I'm not even present in my son's life. So who am I to talk about parenting? I talk about this stuff because I'm learning about how the mind works, and influence, and the power of learning something at a young age, and the responsibility we have as grown folks to put kids in the right path, and the lack of education we have when it comes to conditioning. And sometimes it's done indirectly, sometimes it's done directly. They both exist. Like, for example, there is parents that don't understand the mind, and I'll use this example. They love a specific type of genre, let's say blues. A household love blues. That person with ignorance is not going to understand the power in those words, and that sorrow fucking vibe that comes out of blues, but they love it. And if they don't understand the psychology and how much it's going to affect the kid that's constantly listening to that, they're going to keep doing it. So, I get it. There's a lot of individuals that don't understand it, and I understand that there's some that do understand it and utilize it for good as well. There's some people that understand these psychological mental hacks, if you will, or mind basics, and they utilize it for good. I'll use one example. There's a school. It's called Synthesis, and Synthesis is a course, a school, a program that allows kids to problem solve. And according to what I'm learning from that school, and this is the second time I've come across it, my nephew's 5. If all things work out and I'm on the road, I'll be saving a good $2,000 for him to be able to enroll into that, because I understand that just the way they communicate what's happening, this is the main thing that sold me, is like how they talk about how advanced the kids are, how they communicate. And the goal is for them to become problem solvers. And the number one thing, before I came across this school, the number one thing I learned, that I think I heard Grant Cardone tell me this, or somebody, but he was like, problem solvers. I don't know who it was, Onyx and Gall, or somebody was mentioning that that's pretty much what makes a successful person, is whoever could solve the most problems the most effective way. That is what puts you in a good position of leadership. It's not necessarily doing it, being able to problem solve, being able to find a problem, figure out how to fix it, and get it done. Whether it's through delegation, whether it's through or you doing it yourself, depending on your position. But whoever could solve the most problems makes the most money. That's the name of the game. If you're solving high level problems, you're gonna make money. If you're solving petty problems, you're gonna make petty money. Well, something that caught my attention from the school that was created is the goal is to put kids in an environment where they have to solve problems that are difficult, and it challenges them. It puts them in a position of not just being told what to do, but actually think on their own. And that's the complete opposite from what we see, from what we get in the traditional system. And it's cool. It may have worked, and at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's tough to break mental habits, especially when people have financial investments. Like it's a lifestyle. It's something that has framed their way of living. A lot is based on that. It's the foundation of a lot of people's lives and futures, and it's tough to change somebody's fucking foundation. If it's wrong, a foundation could be, you could build a fucking 100-story building, but tell the person that built it, hey, you forgot one brick at level ground, you got to do it again. Tell that nigga that. He's not gonna fucking want to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not gonna want to do it. So I get it for somebody that's the one that's in that system or makes a lot of their living. That's what they rely on. Their retirement falls on that. Why would you want to change? So that message is not for them. The message, I realize as well, the message is not for everybody. But I do know that the younger generation has more power than the world is going to condition you to think. Because the future is different, but it will be similar if we allow similar thought process to lead it. Like, the future could be so magnificent and it will be better, but we're slowing it down by continuing to teach the same things. The only changes that come in the future is based on those that break out and choose to think different from that system. It's like one analogy that I heard recently is the school system is like the bottleneck of what humanity is supposed to be. It's like it's a bottleneck. It's like, man, when I heard that analogy, I'm like, holy shit, it's true. And I've always said this. I've said this is like we're never gonna move forward until all of us. Like I've always said, like okay, so and I looked at it from one point of view. I thought it was rich people just being fuck boys and not wanting to. I just blamed like people that had money. I was like, and I just put it in this context. I was like, look, I put a message out there like you guys gonna get as far as you think, but from a human development perspective, from actually moving forward as a whole, as a nation, like we're supposed to, it's never gonna happen. Like let's say we have a 100-yard field. You know, they could get to 60, they could be at 70, 80, 90, but they're never gonna get that touchdown. From a macro point of view, from a humanity goal perspective, actually what's supposed to be in this world and how far along we're actually supposed to develop, they're never going to be able to see that. Yeah, they're going to experience money, they're going to experience freedom, they're going to experience, but there's something inherently, internally that's missing that is never going to be fulfilled until we do as a nation, as a whole, as a human race what's right. And nobody could convince me that this whole separation of countries and if you live over here, you're that, and if you live over here, nobody could convince me that shit makes any type of sense. Now, I'm convinced that people believe that because of their foundation of education, their circle of influence, the stuff that they were taught to believe at a young age. Like, I understand that is what it is, but you're not going to tell me that that's how it's supposed to be. You're not going to tell me that because of an imaginary line, like all of a sudden, like you're in a different state, and that state all of a sudden has different laws. Like how frothy, how weak does that make a law? Like, if you think about it, what does that tell you about the law? It's not a legit thing. It's fake. How can something be, and literally you step across a couple feet forward, and all of a sudden it's different? Like that just tells you about the inconsistency in it. Like that, it's not legit. It doesn't really. It's just made up. It's human. Just like it could be a human story, a human belief. It just, I don't know. Maybe I have trouble communicating this, and I don't want to get riled up because that doesn't really. You know, I want to communicate. I want to communicate it because I get it, but I don't really know how to communicate it right. But what I'm saying is, you can't tell me that. If we go expand and look at it past the state, all right, so it's not just the state, so then the country. So on the other side of the country, you're telling me that like nobody there deserves something that somebody in America deserves because what? Like tell me, what's the logical reason? There is none. Let's limit resources, or only this place deserves these amount of resources because of what? And the thing is like, I've always noticed this too, is like we fight against each other, but the ones that have the ability to make these shifts and decisions are in control, they're the ones hanging out at the skybox. Meaning, like we the ones that, you know, we go to another country, for example. Let's talk about, you know, different countries. So, you know, and this is ignorance. This is all ignorance, but if an American goes to another country, they looked at like they not really appreciated. Like, you know, there's hate. Whatever the reason, who knows? But I mean, it's obvious. Like, you think there's a lot of stuff that the person that's broke, it's the same thought that we have of rich people in America. It's like, what the fuck? It's like unfair, right? But they don't understand that we have to work and bust our ass too. They don't understand that. And now I think about it, the people that are in control and are powerful have to put in work as well. So it's not really nothing than education. It's education. Because those people in control of this power, of this system that we're in, got educated. Granted, some of them were put in schools that taught them to be in a higher position within this system, but ultimately it's education. And there are some that And that's what it is too. It's like if you go to another country, the most educated people make the most money. And I can guarantee that if they were to learn, if they were put in the same school that somebody that makes a lot of money here in America makes, if they were put in the same school that somebody here in America went to that makes a lot of money, I'm confident they'll fucking pick up on it. I'm super confident that they will pick up on it. Like, I'm super confident. If they were around the same association and they got a chance to just commingle with that same group and that was the environment, I'm confident they would be able to grow and develop. So, like, I don't want to hear that with, like, this whole country and different countries. And no, man, like, it's so stupid. We're holding ourselves back. And I don't know who's the one that is number 1%. And it's crazy because when I say 1% too, it's not just from an income perspective, man. It's from a decision and dictating decisions perspective. Because if you talk about wealth, there's people that have a lot of money that actually are making a difference and are allocating that money and deploying it back into infrastructures to help people. Like, for example, Elon Musk and the school that they're creating. Bro, to me, that's like I said, I'm communicating it. I'm gonna make it a goal. And my nephew, I can't really control him from. I'm not gonna be there making sure he goes to class every day, but I'm just gonna at least pay for it. I'm gonna be the one to fund it. I can't do it with my son. Maybe I could. I don't even know how old he is. I think he's like 7 now. It's probably borderline too late. And then the relationship with, I don't know. I'm just gonna focus on what I'm gonna do with my nephew. So, how far you going, bro? But at least I could do it with my nephew. It's like $180 a month, and anything to just put him in a position of, like, I personally don't know. I don't know what I could do to help the world from a mass perspective and educating, because I'm quite honestly, I'm kind of stupid my goddamn self. You know what I mean? Like, I've been duped. I came from a place where I had hella energy, hella power, from believing in myself, to somebody that walks around in fear, just like real constricted inside. Like, I fear a lot. I really don't like being around with people too much. When I just ate right there, I just sat like far away from everybody. I sat outside, like pretty much like the corner, just outside by the water. There's something inherently that's like, I don't know. I don't like being around people that much. I like being by myself. I lack confidence. I lack confidence. I'm very open when I'm by myself, but when it comes to people, I'm very internal. I'm very introvert, I think they call it. I wasn't always like that. I came from a place of having a lot of confidence. And I'm telling you guys, like, I'm the poster child of failure. I'm the poster child of idiocy. I'm the poster child of being a fucking insecure, not confident man, beta, all that stuff. Like, I'm the poster child of that. But also want to tell you there's a reason behind all that. It wasn't just me randomly, becoming less as I live my life. There's beliefs, there's restrictions, there's rules that they put in front of you that eventually, you start. Like, I have fear for cops, bro. I fear fucking police. I fear that shit. There's a lot of stuff that I don't do because I fear going to jail. Like, I probably won't ever punch nobody in the face because I fear going to jail. I fear, I'm walking and living in fear. I'll say never, but I did punch somebody in the face. But I do fear some stuff, Like, I drive the speed limit, where before I used to fucking race. Middle of the highway, straight. Stop traffic. I talk about dig. You know what I mean? Not even a fucking road. We putting this bitch. Dig. On the highway. Fucking 5-lane. I think it was like a 4 or 5 lane highway. To somebody that won't even fucking go past the speed limit. Like if I won't go past the speed limit because I'm in fear. I'm in fucking fear. I'm telling you guys, like, it's not worth it. That's the product that the system creates. They will break you down, whether it's through institutions, through education, through going to jail, through prison. They're gonna break you down. They're gonna make you weaker. They're gonna make you softer. They're gonna make you slower. They're gonna make you weak. They're gonna put you in a position of predictability, of knowing what is gonna slow you down, of knowing, like, they're gonna put you in a position of predictability, of this happens, you're gonna reply this way because you've been conditioned that way. There's some basics about the mind that some people understand that they will not tell you, because if you understand it, that's part of the game, that's part of the battle. One analogy that comes to mind is like fleas in a jar. I never done this. I should try to do it. Maybe do it with grasshopper or something. But there's an analogy with like fleas in the jar. It's like you could put fleas in the jar. I don't even know how I would find fleas. I'm not going searching for fleas in a dog. But there's an analogy where it's called fleas in the jar. And you could put fleas inside of a jar, the lid closed, and the fleas will keep jumping and 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 jumping. But obviously they're not going to be able to get out because there's a fucking lid over them. And study shows, I haven't done it myself, but according to people that have done the study, when you take the lid off, the fleas, they'll jump. But they only gonna jump as far as they have been able to jump with the lid on. And that's what's happening to us as humans. You know, I'm not gonna apologize. Like, at the end of the day, you know, I don't want to come off like, oh, this nigga just bashing the system. Yes, because there's so much that we could do as a human race. But if you are conditioned, if you will, if you are brought up with a lid over your head, you're not going to be able to jump past, you're not going to be able to fucking jump out of that jar, because in your mind you think that there's a lid, even if the lid has been released. And I'm in that too. I'm not saying that I'm not in that. Like, I'm struggling, I'm fighting through this. Like, I'm gonna keep battling it, and this is part of my documenting. This is why I do this. This is because what goes in must come out, and I'm gonna figure out what is it that is in me. And I understand that it comes from a position of strength. You gotta actually take action. I understand that, but I take action every day. I work. I'm willing to work 50, 60, 70 hours a day. I'm willing to do that, but I'm still earning less than a girl that's shaking her ass on OnlyFans. Come on, bro. Like, seriously, it's not just work. There's more to this. Guys. And sometimes, like, I try to be super practical, and as a man, you want to accept responsibility, and I get it. But there's more to this. There's a reason why I'm fearful right now. There's a reason. I'm not saying that I can't change it. I understand that. I don't know how to change it. What? So I should just go up to a cop and just punch him in the jaw? Bam! I release that fear out of my heart. I'm not doing that, because I'll find my ass in jail, and they're going to tell all their friends, and it's going to be a bad experience. They'll be like, that nigga punched one of ours. It's not a cool situation. You know, so it's like, ultimately that's not the answer. You know, obviously I don't need to go punch a cop in the jaw. I'm just giving examples of limitations. Damn, that's not a good connection, but limitations that will hold a human race back. It will hold back a human race. This mentality is not healthy for the human soul. We as humans need to improve. We need to develop. We need to figure out how to allow humans to be humans without the fear of what may be. What do I mean by fear of what may be? Well, I hate to put us in categories, but The best thing I can think about is like the difference between how a woman and man is, and not all the time, but for the most part, with safety. It's like, I heard this recently, but it's like nothing great would ever become, nothing great that we have would ever be if it was for us listening to, be careful, don't do that. Everything great right now came from somebody taking hella risks, whether it's a physical risk that could have led to death, bridges, buildings being built. That shit requires a motherfucker hanging and welding and doing some crazy shit that usually your mom wouldn't approve of. She wouldn't say, what are you doing up there? You know, she's usually saying, get the fuck down from there. That's not safe. And we live in a world right now, this is literally a manifestation. Like right now, we're living in a manifestation of listening to that, listening to those thoughts, that mentality, listening, being brought up around that perspective of having so much fear that we aren't really, we're like fleas in the jar. And again, I'm gonna hedge this up front. Like, believe me, the one thing you want to take from this is you want to listen to people that have what you want. So I'm not saying that everything I'm saying is factual. Believe me, I probably don't have half the shit that you guys desire or want, but I know this: I have what you don't want. And it's equally important, it's just as equally as beneficial to learn from people that have what you don't want too. It's like, I remember one of my mentors would say this, like, if you can't figure out what you want, think about what you don't want. And you'll find out, you know, just think about what you don't want. If you can't come up with reason what you want, if you can't come up with the reason, if you can't figure out your why, think about what the hell you don't want. And don't listen to me from a perspective of, oh man, that guy's intelligent, man, he's a freaking genius, he's an Elon Musk, this guy's a billionaire, he's the richest man in the world. No, I'm probably the brokest man in the world. But you need to listen to that. Like, why the fuck is he so broke? Why is he so lost? Why is he so confused? Why is he so unintelligent? Why doesn't he fit in the world? Why doesn't he build a successful business? Why can't he hold a job? Why can't he actually retain information? Why does he communicate so stupid? Why does he always fumble over his words? Why isn't he clear? Why doesn't he articulate correctly? Why doesn't he understand numbers? Why is he always complaining? Why is his mentality set that way? Why does he think that? Why is he not allowing his full potential to be? How does he not see it? Think about that. Think about that. Why is he such a loser? Why is he so broke? Why is he at the age that he is and still drives a fucking 97 Ford? What the heck is wrong with him? Who educated him? What school did he go to? What system was he a part of? What was he taught? And how do you avoid that? There's not many people that are going to admit to their failures. There's not many people that are going to admit to their lack of confidence. There's not many people in this world that are going to admit to anything. They're just going to act like they got it. They're going to act bold. They're going to act like they this shit. They're going to act like they're going to post all this cool stuff. They're going to act like they've made it. But internally, there's a lot of stuff that people aren't communicating. And I know for a fact. I could just see it in their fucking soul. I could see it in the way they move. I could see it in their attitude, their body behaviors, their posture. I could see it. Ain't nobody really living the life like we supposed to be living. And the sad part is that we think that's the normal. You want to put yourself in that position, then go ahead and follow suit and just continue listening to the traditional system of how you're supposed to live. But I'm telling you, one of the best risks that this world could take from a macro perspective is just break out. While you young, while you don't have the fears of not having anything, don't get tied into what that system is going to give you. Start building a mastermind group with your friends. If y'all want to smoke, figure out a way to schedule that later on, after y'all get down and dirty from a learning perspective, from a figuring out what do y'all want to create. You guys have the minds that are by far the best things in the world. Y'all have the ability to do everything and more, and stuff that has never even been thought of. And I guarantee that the ability to take action on this stuff is going to be suppressed the longer that you stay within the system, the educational system. And by the way, everything that I'm saying is just for educational purposes. There's no meaning behind this. This is all fake. Nothing that I say is true. This is for a skit. just making this stuff up. This is just part of a bigger picture film and a book that I'm writing, and I'm just rehearsing and practicing. You guys have the ability to do so much more than the world ever teach you. The world is going to condition you to think something, to operate within specific walls, not because it's safe. They're going to tell you it's because it's safe, but not because it's safe, because it's profitable. It's very profitable to teach somebody to build. It's very profitable to teach somebody to drive, because there's products that need to be moved. So if we can guarantee have that part of the business taken care of, then cool, so be it. Forget the ultimate ability of what a human could make. Me putting people through school so they could complete this task is going to bring hella profit for me. So that's what we need to do. That's one mentality. And again, if you really believe the story, if you believe the story, if you believe the idea of going to school and that's going to lead to a better tomorrow, then do so. But I also want you to look at the examples around you, and not just from a physical perspective. I want you to pay attention. I want you to pay attention to the facial expressions. Like they say, I think there's a common saying, is like, don't listen to what I say, watch what I do. And not me, like I said, I'm ignorant, I'm stupid, I have nothing. Like at the end of the day, trust me, you don't want to be walking around in the parking lot that's closed in front of Costco. You don't want to be like me, you know what I mean? You want to be like the people that are on yachts, or you want to be like the people that are on stage. You want to be like the people that, are traveling and just in different parts of the country and just have all these big tables with a bunch of families surrounded and have all the bitches. You want that. But are they teaching you practicality? Are they actually communicating? And when I say communicating, are they communicating their daily actions with you, right? Are you able to see that? Are you able to see that? Watch what I do. Watch what they do. If you're going to take advice from somebody, let it be your parents, your aunt, your older sisters, siblings. You can take advice from them, but, words is one thing. Yeah, sure. But watch them. Watch how they live on a day-to-day basis. What are they doing? Are they going to, they advising you to do X, Y, Z, but they're going to buy beer every night? Well, we know for a fact that's not going to lead to that lifestyle. Now, I'm not saying you can't drink. What I'm just saying is, like, why are they doing that? Are they living to their full potential? If they're not living to their full potential, why are they giving you advice to expand or do something specifically? Why? Why are they doing it? Because they think that is the right way? Listen, I personally don't know what the right way is. I don't. But I also know that I've been doing my best to learn more about myself. And the way I do that is by documenting myself, because ain't nobody gonna be as real with me as I am gonna be with me. Nobody's gonna be as real with me as I am gonna be with myself. And I'm not gonna be as real communicating. Like, it's hard to get that deep with somebody. Like, because sometimes, well, at least for me, I always communicate things different, or I don't fully communicate it how. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I don't communicate correct, but I know when I'm weak, I understand where I have a passion, and I'm learning that the more that I document and record for myself, so I could just see myself and where I'm at. But don't look at me as the best example. I'm telling you, look at people that have what you want. And I also want you to think in terms of, why is it that the people around you that give you advice aren't necessarily happy from a Like, look at their facial expression. Look at their fucking facial expression. Look at the body posture. See how they move. You know, and see, not their bank account, even though that is important. Again, we all are gonna want to. We're all gonna want to have a good lifestyle. We all want that good lifestyle. Ultimately, at the end, we want to have a good lifestyle. We want to live with options. But there's a small percentage of people that are gonna actually live out their life how they see, how they think they want it to be. Because there's a lot of misguiding going on. There's a lot of incorrect information that's going on. There's a lot of good stuff going on too. I'm not gonna front. There's a lot of good happening. I'm not gonna act like it's all bad. There's a lot of good that's happening. A lot. There is. I can name a few. For example, that school synthesis that I talked about. They're good. This is good. That's part of a movement that's happening that, to be quite honest, I don't have the intelligence to build on. But if I could tell somebody that has a kid that's between 6 to 14 to put your kid through that program, I would, and I get no incentive for it. There's no benefit for me at all. There's no kickback. There's no affiliate marketing. There's nothing. Nothing at all. But it would do me well to know that students, that somebody that I'm not able to, it's gonna change the mentality and the trajectory of somebody else's neighborhood because of another person that I was able to connect with, or at least recommend to go to that school. And not like I have the full proof that school is good or is the best. You know, I don't have a personal experience, but from what I've learned is, you know, when you want to put, okay, like, I'll give an example for me. Like, there was phases in my life where I like, okay, like, I'm the type that I'll figure it out. Like, if I'm not rushed, if I got the time, if I got the resources, like, I'll figure it out. If I'm by myself, I'll figure it out. But I'm also like, I lack confidence when I'm with somebody, especially when I think that person knows it. Like, if that person knows it, like, I go into just weak-minded if it's something that I don't know and I don't feel comfortable with. Well, something that you're gonna learn from a young age is, if you don't know how to fucking do something, you're gonna figure it out. You're gonna be a problem solver. See, I've been conditioned, whatever, or maybe I'm just weak, whatever it is, I'm just a pussy ass young man that doesn't know how to fucking figure out problems. That's cool, I'll be that. But somebody that has been put in a position of problems at a low level, eventually you're going to start figuring out ways to solve these problems. You're going to find patterns within this world of how to figure out, how to analyze, how to go about a problem, the stuff to think, instead of breaking down and saying, oh shit, and then just allowing the fact that you don't know cover your mind and your thoughts and your ideas and your creativity and your ability to critically think and say, okay. So if you're put in those situations at a younger age, you're going to develop to a person where it's going to be a lot better in this real world, because in this real world, we're going to have problems. And if we could solve these problems by thinking them through, instead of breaking down and saying, oh shit, I can't, or turning to somebody else to bring the solution for you, by default, you just in a better position off rip. For me, I'm in a position of weakness because I choose to be cool, but from given a reason why am I this way, is what do I do that makes me this way, is when I have a problem in front of me, I don't sit there and think, well, how can I figure this out? Okay, so that's the problem. What are my options? What can I do? I instinctively go to reaction mode, and who who can I run to? Who could help me? You know, I don't think in terms of how can I figure this out? What could I make out of this? How could I make this great? And these are mentalities that, granted, now I'm thinking this way a little more just by, just flowing. These are great ways to handle it. But if you are in an environment where, like, the solution's always there for you, or every time you face a problem, they go ahead and give you the answer, or every time you face a problem, you're never given the proper amount of time to actually solve it. For example, in school, one thing I remember is being tested and having a time. I remember having a fucking time, and that was probably one of the worst things in the fucking world. It was one of the worst things in the world because, like, even if it would have took me fucking 2 hours or whatever, it was tough for me because I just wasn't about me. I was constantly